Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the One Last Cast podcast. My name is Jonathan. Unfortunately, Merrill wasn't able to join me today, but we have a awesome episode lined up for you as we talk to Mike Morales of the Fin Factory Kayak and Tackle, who is apparently they're creating a store down here in Houston. They have two locations currently over in Corpus Christi and in San Antonio, and we're looking forward to talking to him. But before we do that, just kind of want to do some housekeeping things first. This is our first episode of I believe, our third year of doing this podcast. And I wanted to thank everybody for sticking with us and listening in. Uh, it's been an awesome ride, and I think recently we've gone past like 10,000 downloads, which is awesome. So wanted to give a big shout out to everybody who's listening. And for those of you who are listening right now, you can actually watch us live on Facebook and YouTube at facebook.com/one last cast podcast. We go live every other Wednesday. Join us and you can ask questions live. Just type it in chat and we'll see it and we can ask our guests or ask us. Our job here at the One Last Cast podcast is to better your experience while on the water, especially while kayaking and fishing. And we look forward to hearing from you. Also wanted to give a shout out to our sponsors, Dirty South Kayak Anglers. It's a Facebook group, an awesome group if you love kayaking and fishing, go over there. A lot of good information on there. A lot of people, an active group. If you're looking for an active group to join, just go head on over there. Also, for a printing, Aaron has done awesome jobs with our kind of custom merch, which reminds me I have to hit up Aaron later because I am now out of promotional towels that we get for our giveaways, but they do stuff like towels as well as like this custom buff that he did for us. This is awesome. I know they do hats and shirts and all the other stuff, so if you're looking for some merch to customize and create, feel free to go over to 4A Printing. Another one of our sponsors, Knocking Tail Lures, KTLs. They are my go-to soft plastic that they have a rattle at the end of the tail. Is an awesome lure. Caught some great flounder of it during the run this year. And I've been using it to great success with trout, redfish, and flounder these past couple of trips. Actually, if you go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/one last cast podcast, you'll see that I have some my recent catches, like these massive bull reds. All of them were caught on Knocking Tail lures. So go over there, search them up, and go get you some. So before we jump over to talk to Mike, he's sitting backstage right now. But before we do that, just kind of wanted to give a little bit of a brief overview of how fishing has been. Fishing has been kind of amazing the last couple of days. Unfortunately, with the rains, it kind of comes and goes. But whenever it's on, it's on. Focusing more on the northern part of Galveston Bay, Baytown area, even over in Chocolate, they've been doing really well. They've just been. It's been on fire. Fishing over shell reefs and deep drop offs, just sitting over there. Kind of have to watch the weather. Whenever it rains a lot, kind of kills the bite for a couple of days, but afterwards, it turns right back on. Just fishing shell and drop offs. And if you're looking for a good trip right now, I would highly recommend that you head out there. It's been a mild winter. We've had like a few days during that freeze that we had, but it's been pretty mild. Comparatively, I'm actually hoping that we get some cooler weather soon. That way I can kind of get on a better pattern. I would say even better than what it is right now. Okay, we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of this podcast. I know this is what everybody's been kind of waiting for. So we in the Houston area, we haven't had a lot of we have our kayak shops here, FTU, ACK, which is no longer there. There was one down in Galveston. I forgot what it's called. Adventure Sports. That was down there. But I don't think recently we've had besides ACK, we've ever had like a specifically like a kayak shop, a kayak specific shop. Or one that has its roots in kayaking. We recently found out that Fin Factory Kayak and Tackle out of Corpus Christi and San Antonio, they're coming to Houston. So we reached out because we're interested to have a dedicated kayak shop in Houston, and we're interested to start talking to them. And I really wanted to bring them on to kind of share their story and kind of tell us, all of y'all, what they're all about, and and what they bring to the table. So, but without further ado, let's bring on Mike Morales. If I can do that, hold on. There he goes. How's it going, Mike?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing great. Yeah, so let's just we're gonna save like the good information for the very end, so that way we force everybody to listen to the podcast. But um so kind of for those who don't know what kind of the backstory to Fin Factory, kind of give us a brief rundown of what Fin Factory is and is all about and how it came about to be.
Well, Fin Factory actually started in 2012. Started off as Fin Factory Charters LLC, which is still the I guess the corporate name of our organization. And we started off basically me as a guide service there in Corpus. Started kayaking pretty seriously about 2010 when nobody was doing it, and it was known as kind of like the poor man's fishing sport. And man, really fell in love with it. I really fell in love with the sport. I just couldn't get enough of it. Anytime I had off from my corporate life, or I was on the water. And one day I was out in the water fishing and just tearing up the fish. And I thought that everybody should be doing it. Like, why isn't everybody doing this? Because this is amazing, right? So started a guide service in 2012. And that's where we the brand started to really started to push the brand with no thoughts or ideas of even opening a kayak shop. It was just about trying to develop a good name that people would come to know, so that they can come out and fish on a kayak with Captain Mike. So we I built that again in 2012, and it was really successful. Guiding on kayaks. I started off on a fleet of wilderness system tarpons. That was our first boats. I had 6 of them. I had 2 160s, 4 140s, and I was super
Love the
excited about it.
160s.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah.
That was my favorite boat. And then, one day, since we didn't have really a kayak shop in Corpus at the time, I would go to San Antonio probably once every 3 weeks or so, just to go to ACK, and see what they had. And there was a guy there by the name of Barrett Fine. I think a lot of people still know him in the industry. He actually is regional manager of sales, or actually national manager for sales for Burley Pro now. But he was a store manager at ACK, and got to know him really, really well. And it was really pushing Hobie on me. And I was like, man, those fin drives, they don't work in shallow water. That's all I had ever heard. I had never used them before. And he finally talked me into it. And I bought a Pro Angler. And, as soon as I got out on the water, I was like, what was I thinking, man? This
It's
is
like a game changer.
unbelievable. It was a game changer, man. Like, there'd be so many times that I'd be out on the water with the tarpons, and I'd have a group of 4, and that wind would start ripping, and you got the first timer out on that kayak, and we're 2 miles from the launch, and here I am pulling one at a time, going back and forth to the launch. But going to the pedal drive was just an absolute game changer, and that's where the passion really took off. So was really, really big in the kayaking community. Really in Gulf Coast and Texas, and started working directly with ACK. Marketing, being on the pro staff, and got together and connected with Hobie, being on, their fishing team, and then got promoted to their regional team. And so, things were going really, really well from a guide service. I introduced the boat series to where we're doing motorboat and kayaking. And, that's basically how it started. There, we did have a Hobie dealership in Corpus, and they had closed down due to I don't know what issues, but they had some issues there for a while. And Hobie approached me and said, "Hey, look, we're looking for another dealer in Corpus. There's a couple of these bait and tackle shops that have reached out to us. What do you think?" I said, "You know what? I think I would be very interested in opening a Hobie shop." And really, you're a guide. I said, "No, I've been in corporate retail for 17 years. I started at grassroots, and that's what I do. I'm a corporate retailer." And so, the big wigs at Hobie talked it out, and they called me back the next day and they said, "Hey, you got a month to find a shop." And I was like, "Holy schmoly, what am I doing here?" I truth be known, the only reason why I opened a Hobie shop is because my daughters were in high school, and I knew they'd be going to college and be looking for summer jobs and stuff. And let's face it, I loved kayaking, and I wanted them to love it too. And I said, let me open a shop and see if we can get this thing going, and so they can have summer jobs and stuff like that, and we'll see where it goes. And
Before you keep going,
yeah,
did they end up picking it up too?
yeah, they both
Oh,
did.
that's
They
good.
they
That's
both
good.
did.
Okay,
Yeah,
mission accomplished right there.
absolutely. So yeah, man. So that's pretty much how it started, and that was in 2016 when we opened up our little tiny shop in Corpus. It was an absolute dump, but it's all I could afford. And me and my daughter, my oldest daughter, man, we spent you know nights and nights just scrubbing walls and fixing the roof, and I mean we did it all. And we opened up this little small 900 square foot store, and we made it work. And 2 years ago we relocated that shop to a really much bigger facility there in Corpus. So that's kind of where we're at. And
I was about to say 900 square foot, that's like a small apartment, and I can imagine the display of multiple Hobies in there kind of dominating that space. Yeah.
we got very creative, man. So it was a car, like auto shop, right? That's what it
Okay.
was
Yeah.
before. It was dilapidated, quasi crack house. And so it had this 900 square foot little building with like no air conditioner, and then it had this garage that like reeked of oil. It still had the old oil pans, and we painted the floor and scrubbed it, and we were able to showcase all of our kayaks in the in the garage. But man, people would walk in there and walk out drenched in sweat, man, because we didn't even have AC. So it was very humble beginnings. And here we are today. Fast forward, we opened up San Antonio because we had a big need. We had a lot of our customer base coming from San Antonio. ACK had recently, announced that they were shutting down business, and so to better serve our customers, we decided to open up a small, humble beginning shop in San Antonio, which my daughter now runs there.
I think the retail term is satellite location.
Satellite, there you go, the sister satellite location, right? And so we opened up that guy, last year. We actually annualized here in February. And so we had a really good start, man, right out the gates, and it's been going pretty well, and we hope to relocate here pretty soon there too. So then there again, Houston. Believe it or not, we have a lot of Houston customers that come to Corpus to buy boats from us. Um, Whether it be due to inventory issues or whatever, we sold quite a bit of boats to customers in Houston, and every time they come to the shop, it was always the same response, like, man, we need one of these in Houston. You guys pretty much have it all what we're looking for, and that's where the light bulbs went off. Really, that's where my wife's light bulbs went off because you know, listen, if it were kind of up to me, which it isn't, I was comfortable being a fishing guide, man, and letting the girls just let my daughters like take it. But at the end of the day, man, my wife is a really, the brains and the operations behind our expansion and our growth. And without her, we just wouldn't be here. Um, so yeah, here we are. We were given the green light by Hobie and other dealers that we were able to move in based on geographic ranges to other kayak shops, and we're going for it. And so that's the story.
That's awesome. I think in any situation like this, whether it's in this case kayaks or like if you're thinking about like sports and all that stuff, you always hear about those humble beginnings where they work really hard to accomplish their goals, and it's always the feel good story when they work really hard and end up accomplishing, what they set out
Mhm.
to accomplish, and that's like hats off to you. That's awesome. Um, so the way the format we've kind of started out with these questions is that we were going to kind of weave the story for our listeners here. So that was the past of Fin Factory, and now this is going to be the present of where the Houston location is going to be. So, kind of tell us what you know. I know there's a lot of moving parts and things are going on right now, but tell us what you know and what you can tell us
Mhm.
about your current location going to be here in Houston.
Yeah, so we landed in spring, um, and believe me, we looked all over. And I know a lot of folks in Houston, a lot of kayakers in Houston, and I have a lot of clients from Houston from a guiding standpoint. And I reached out to a lot of people and asked, hey, where do you think is the best opportunity for us, to really suit the needs of our customers? And I mean, we heard it all, man. We heard Texas City, Galveston, Pearland,
Oh yeah,
Conroe,
I'm disappointed you didn't put it in
Woodlands.
Pearland because that's where I'm at. So
No, and we really like scoured. I mean, I can't tell you how many days we spent here, month after month, just really looking for the right location and where it fit, right? Because there's certain things that we have, certain criteria that we have to hit. It's like a car dealership. We can't park a Chevy dealership right next to a Chevy dealership, right? So there was a lot of different things that we just couldn't do from a demographic standpoint or a location standpoint. And so, thinking about where the ACK was and thinking about, where there's opportunity for us to move into, it was Conroe, Woodlands, Spring, and that was what was available. Yes, we could have gone out to, Cypress and those areas, but, from a logistics and an expense standpoint, this made sense for us. We're off Rayford Road in 45. We're not right off of 45, so you really can't see it off of 45. But I guess if you were to come west on 45 for about a mile, you'll run right into it. And so, it was a good location. It was a perfect facility for us. This used to be a bank that we moved into. So, it had plenty of square footage. And
is there a vault?
there actually isn't a vault, but there's a drive through
Okay.
that is the windows are there, but you can't see inside. So
Yeah.
it just made sense, and I think from a dollar standpoint, it made sense also. We were this close to moving to where was it? Egypt, the Egypt Montgomery area.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
but this was just made better sense because it was more centrally located in Houston. So so yeah, that's where we're at. We're gonna have, just to kind of talk about what we plan to bring in. So Fin Factory has always, the way we've opened Fin Factory is that we're a kayak shop first and a tackle shop second. Okay. There's a lot of people that sell kayaks that are, you know, they are hardcore tackle people first, and then there's the kayak piece, right? We do it opposite. We kind of brand ourselves on making sure that we're experts on everything when it comes to kayaks. We're innovative. We do a lot of crazy stuff to kayaks that, if you guys look at our kind of our early beginnings, man, we did some really crazy stuff, from towers on kayaks and all kinds of aluminum welding and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Actually,
Um,
before we continue, I've seen some of your rigging videos, and they're very clean and
yeah,
therapeutic. So if somebody wants to go see some of your those videos, where can they find those at?
yeah, they can go to Fin Factory Fishing on YouTube. I try like crazy to put some content out there, man, but it's between the guiding and the three stores and just life in general, man, it's really hard for me to sit down and get some ideas out there. But yeah, I do have some good videos as it relates to our installs. To me, that's key, man. That is important. That we have our own signature on our installs, that it's done extremely clean, that there's no liability involved. You're not going to have a leaky boat when it leaves our store. We go above and beyond because I think it's important. I think doing it the right way, to me is paramount. And if it's not right, we're going to do it again and do it again and do it again. So that's I know my boat. It's not very clean, but I know when I bought a boat, you don't want to scratch it or anything, and you want to make sure if you get an anchor trolley put on, man, all the screws are just right. and people are scared to cut hatches and all that stuff. And I know the challenges that are out there, but I also know that when somebody's going to spend $4,000, $3,500 to $5,000 on a boat, and they want these installs, we're going to do it right. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
And if it's not right, I'll give you a new boat. Knock wood. Okay. So,
I was about to say also that pre-show we were talking, and you're kind of talking about your history before the show, and you're saying like people thought that kayaking is a poor man's kind of way to fish, and I'm like, it's not a poor man anymore.
no,
So,
it's not. No, it's
but
not.
but also it's whenever I was working in the kayak industry and doing installs, man, I was so scared because especially it wasn't my kayak, it was somebody else's
Mhm.
kayak. And I'm glad that I had some good trainers, and they basically the only way to do it is to get comfortable doing it, and is by doing it.
Yep.
But if you can't get yourself to do that, find somebody who knows what they're doing. So
Exactly. And we do it all. I've even installed complete sound systems on kayaks with bass and subwoofers and stuff. I mean, we've done some banana stuff. So you know, some of that stuff just takes, got to do it right.
yeah,
So yeah.
that's awesome. And so that's kind of that already kind of answer like what sets you guys apart. Because making sure to do it right, and I'm sure that you guys have the not only the knowledge, but you have the track record now,
Hmm.
with two stores. Is there anything that kind of sets you guys apart from the rest of the other competitors, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely number one is that we already mentioned that we're a kayak company first. That's the big thing. Installs and service to maintenance. That's, to me, that just goes hand in hand with what it is that we're doing. Anything that you can think of that you want to do on your kayak, we're going to do it, and we can do it. From you name it, and then ultimately it's our service. It's product knowledge and service. I mean, for me, I'm one of those believers, and there's good service and then there's great service, and I know everybody talks about that. Oh yeah, here we go with the service thing, right? No, but hey, listen, I I know these boats aren't cheap anymore. They're really not cheap, and it's a big expense, and if somebody's going to come to my shop, my business, and buy from us, to me, you're supporting my family, and that's the way I feel about it. Really, you are supporting my family because we are a family business. And if you don't walk out of here feeling good about your purchase or your experience, man, we have completely failed you. And in turn, I've failed my family. And so that's how we run our business. And so, I think people talk about service all the time, but we really live it, and we share that experience every day. So that's the other piece. Now obviously, we're rooted in fishing, as well. So we are excited to announce that not only is it going to be Fin Factory, but this is also going to be the home of H&H rods, performance rods. So
Wow.
H&H carved out some space here in our shop. They're going to have the custom drums running. They're going to have guys building rods in the shop, showcasing them. When you walk in the store, our goal is when you walk in the back wall, you're going to see like all of these rods just spinning where they're drying. And if you want a custom rod, we'll build it specifically to your needs. We're going to do real cleaning service, rod repair. Everything is going to be done and handled from that aspect from H&H. But H&H has been one of our best vendors. I firmly believe in their rods. I've used them, my entire guide life. My customers love them when we go out on fishing trips. They're just a great rod, and they're Texas made. And so we're really excited to have them here and have a formidable shop that also offers fantastic rods, real service, real cleaning, the whole nine. So that's going to be huge for us. The owners of H&H being Chris and Andrew, man, those guys are super people. And, Andrew's basically going to run our shop for us, both from a rod standpoint and the kayak standpoint. Of course, I'm going to be here a lot. My wife's going to be here a lot, but, these guys, we're just going to be hand in hand with these guys for sure.
Hey, that's awesome, and it sounds like you guys are trying to create like almost like a one-stop shop for everything
Yeah.
for all the kayak fishermen here. So, that's awesome. And I really liked for the H&H side. I really liked the PTX that I had years
Hmm.
ago. Unfortunately, I broke it, but and I haven't picked up another one. But I really like that one. Um, but man, that's awesome. So, yeah. So, for those of you guys who are listening and on the podcast, on Amazon, Spotify, or anywhere else, we are live every other Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can watch us at facebook.com/one last cast podcast or on YouTube as well. Um, and for those of you who are on watching us live right now, if you have a question for Mike or for me, feel free to drop it in the chat and we'll continue on with our segment here. Um, so we kind of we're talking about the present. Now let's kind of look at the future a little bit. Well, actually, before we go to the future a little bit, um, are what do you know what kayaks? Obviously Hobie, but do you know what other kayaks you're going to be bringing into the market
Yeah,
here, or what you can
absolutely.
tell us?
Yeah, I can tell you. I'm gonna kind of give a real quick rundown of pretty much the major categories that we're going to carry. So obviously Hobie, Hobie's our number one. We're also going to be carrying Old Town. We're really excited to bring those guys in. We haven't been able to carry them in Corpus just to competitive reasons, but we've recently moved them into San Antonio and now here. We have a relationship with Hoodoo Kayaks. We've had a relationship with them from the start. There's some future things coming down the pipe from Hoodoo that I think people are going to be really excited about. I know they've gotten some bad rep here and there, but I'm really excited about what's to come for those guys. Specifically, hopefully some of these kayaks can now be made here in Houston, actually blown and everything. So that may be coming down the pipe as well. We're going to be carrying a boat, BOTE, both their Rover and stand up paddleboard series. We really like live boards. So kind of what's been happening, what I've noticed has been happening specifically here in Texas is that there's been a big move for motors. I think we all know that, right? Electric power, gas power, whether it be micro skiffs, those kinds of things. But man, that has been a big movement within the last, you know, 12 to 48 months. And so a lot of what we
I just got a motor a month ago, so.
mhm. So we're kind of gearing, we're putting a lot more into that, with like, especially with like the Live and the Rover, the Live getting the motors, put them on from a 2.5 horsepower gas. Now that Newport has the NK 300 with the stick steer, we're looking forward to that. We've had a long relationship with Newport since they come out, with Torquedo, obviously, Bixby. All these guys we're really deep involved with custom mounting. I know, LAC, Louisiana Kayak Company, does a lot of cool, innovative stuff. We've been doing that stuff too. We don't market it as much, but from the use of CNC machines to making custom mounts, doesn't matter what kayak you have. If you want a motor on it, we could probably do it. Okay, if you want a motor and a power pole, we're gonna do it. So that is kind of that piece. We may dive into some other kayak brands. We've been kind of talking to some other folks like New Canoe, some really cool stuff out there that's coming down the pipe that I think has a you know there's a market for it. But we're not going to be one of those kayak shops to where there's every freaking kayak under the sun and people get paralysis through analysis when they walk on. They end up with nothing, right? So we like to be very, very expert in certain areas, and I want to offer the best of the best that's out there and what customers are really looking for. So those are kind of where we're going to start. Okay. I already talked about motors. That's a big deal. We have a relationship with Tohatsu from a gas standpoint. So the motors are going to be a big piece. When it comes to accessories, obviously we run pretty thick in Hobie accessories, from both repair parts and accessories across the board. Yak Attack is one of our big, you'll see a lot of Yak Attack stuff in here. Yak gear, Railblaza, Burley Pro. Man, just I think from that standpoint, those are kind of the majors, right? And then there's power, right? We do a lot of work with Nakwa. Nakwa's a big power source for us. From a motoring standpoint, Z Pro, we've become a lot more comfortable, and we have a lot of we've been using their stuff a lot, and so we we're confident in the product. For us, if we have a product and it fails a lot, or if we have issues with it, then we just stop selling it. It's just that simple. I'm not gonna be a junk dealer. You know what I mean? I want to make sure we get the best of the best that's out there. And everything that we sell, we use. We use in the guide service. We use it in the field. We use in our demos, and so we want to make sure that we know about what it is that you're going to use out there, and we're going to try to not sell you things you don't need. There's a lot of people that come in here, man. They want to gear it down, and you know what? A lot of people use their gear, and we love that. But there's some folks that they just want to know what they need, and we're not going to try to sit there and just kind of load up the shopping cart. You know what I mean? We're going to really try to paint the picture of what they plan to do with their equipment and work around that. Okay,
Yep.
so that's the kayak piece, and I probably missed some things on that. From a I guess a angling standpoint, yeah, we already talked about H&H rods, performance rods. We're also going to have other rods in here. We're going to offer rods from different companies. We'll have the Penn stuff and the Shimano stuff and all the Blue stuff. Reels, the same thing. We try to hit those bait casters and spinning rods, spinning reels that are very popular. We don't carry like a huge selection, but we're going to carry the stuff that we know works and that most people are looking for, right? From a gear standpoint, same thing. From a tackle standpoint, we're gonna be heavily focused on salt, okay? Because really, that's what I know the most of, and I'm gonna lean on a lot of folks. I'm gonna lean on a lot of our folks around here, our community, to figure out what it is that they're looking for, so that we can make sure that we stock it, whether it be from a freshwater standpoint, from a specialty standpoint. Somebody wants that Van Staal VS50. Do we need to carry those? So we're going to have all of the Danco stuff, and all of the nettings and all that good stuff. But it's really going to be kind of trying to figure out what it is the community is really looking for, so that we can provide that to them. And obviously, we're also going to carry apparel. We're already in the works of working with some of the bigger names like Sims and Patagonia, and I'm a big Sims fan. Man, I love Sims. I love me some Sims, and I think a lot of people do too here in Texas. So
Yep.
we're going to really be looking forward to those different product lines. So we're excited about it, man.
Yeah, I really want to see like a Hobie Revo outfitted with like a bent rod and like a massive Penn Senator.
Double wide.
Yeah, exactly.
And to that note, just keep in mind, I really want to send this home, guys, is that you know we are going to be doing the maintenance piece both on all of the kayaking equipment. We got people in our shop all the time. Hey, I want all new bungee. I want you to service my drive. I want you to put a new seat on it. I mean, that's what we do. But not only that, but with reels, we're going to offer line spooling. We're going to spool reels. We're going to do all that good stuff. So should be a one-stop shop for anybody who comes in.
That's awesome. Yeah, before we get to like some of the questions that we have coming in the chat, I guess one of the big questions that when we're looking at your future is when you guys opening?
So right now we have our opening date as of Saturday, February 11th will kind of be our soft opening. That's the goal. I think we're going to get there, but I'm just going to do a little quick spin around here. I'm going to see if I can get. That's where we're at. That's pretty much it. There's nothing up. So, actually, the building owner who we're leasing from, they're doing some build out for us right now. They're putting up some walls, And so we're just they're almost done. So as soon as they're done, I think they'll be done in the next like 2 or 3 days. We're gonna hit this sucker hard, but right now we're just kind of doing, the shop stuff. We're getting our table set up. We're getting some fixtures put together. But once they're out of here, man, it's like we're all over it. So I think we'll be able to hit that soft opening date of February 11th. The only concern that I have is we do have a really good inventory of boats, whether it be Hobies and Old Towns and stuff like that. It's the accessories that may kind of lag a little bit coming in here. So we want to have a really good showing to open. So there may not be everything that we want when we open in the store February 11th, but we got to get these doors open.
Yep. And before we were talking and during our pre-production meeting, we were talking about our experiences in retail and
Mm-hmm.
how it's like moving mountains and open up a store. And I, what you're doing is awesome, but I don't envy your position right now. There's
Yeah.
just for those of you who haven't worked retail or haven't opened a shop before. Of course, I haven't opened one to the extent that Mike here is doing. It's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things happening at the same time, and it's a lot of coordinating. It's not even just like the doing of like getting the floors and fixtures ready. It's a lot of coordinating with vendors and deliveries and parts and everything like that. It's a massive undertaking. So, like I said, I don't envy your position
Yeah,
at all.
and then you got the back end stuff, man.
Yeah.
You got the POS systems and making sure all that's good to go. Internet, your networking, your man, you name it. The inventory system. I mean, the security. I mean, it's. And you know what? I'm gonna shoot you 100% honest. It's just me and this young lady right here. That's it. We've opened 4 stores in like the last 2 years, and it's just been me and her. And so it is a lot, but luckily we have some experience in it, and my biggest thing too, though, is that we want it to feel right when you walk in the store. And I think that's kind of where we've really focused in on. you know, a lot of times and again, I'm not talking bad about any, you walk into a tackle shop, you're in a tackle shop. It looks like a tackle shop, right? We hope that everybody feels welcome when you walk in the store. Whether you and your wife come in, and even if you bring your kids in, we try to make it where there's a little piece for all of them to enjoy, and they feel welcomed. So that's kind of our goal, and that's the hardest part. All of the little pieces. Yeah, it's time consuming, but I think it's getting the feel is what kind of gives us the most keeps us up at night the most. So we hope to achieve that with our customers here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's go to some of the questions that we have in our chat. And actually, I'm going to ask this one for Jay because he's not going to ask it. But he recently, I've been fishing with him the last few times, and he's been getting kind of envious of my motor situation here. So, so I run a Revo 13. I just recently got the big speed,
Nice.
and that's been on a can it runs all day and I can go like 4.5 miles an hour and I'm happy,
Yeah, that's all you
uh,
need.
yeah, that's all you need. And the battery's super light and it's awesome. He has a PA 14.
Hmm.
And I've been towing him back to launch sometimes for the last couple of trips. And man, that thing it's a barge. So if
Thanks.
for him, if you were to get a motor, what would you recommend for a PA 14?
So if you think about the motors, the two that come to mind, you can go with like the Newport NK180S, or you could do the 403A from Torqeedo. I've done a side by side comparison on those, and I was going to post the video on that. I think I did. I'm not sure, but they're like exactly the same as far as thrust power, speed. We measured it on two Outbacks, and there was really no difference whatsoever between those two. Now we've got some folks that go a little bit on the big time side, and they'll do the 1103 from Torqeedo, which is the 3 horsepower, and that sucker will move the boat. The problem with that guy is it's extremely heavy. It is a heavy motor, but if you're not too concerned about the weight of that motor and that whole system of, trimming and tilting that actual motor, that doesn't really concern you too much, and you want like straight up performance and speed, that 1103 will really move you. On a PA, the 403, whether it be the 403 Torpedo or the 180S, you're gonna get the same speeds, probably what you're getting on your boat on your Revo, with the Bixby. I think the Bixby is a viable option. It's just I don't think it just doesn't have enough thrust. I think for a PA, you'll still
Yeah.
move. It'll be similar to an e-bike, but you're not going to get the thrust that you're looking for that you would need out of those other two motors. Um, so it's a matter of preference. There's also, I've had some people put the Texas Power Paddle on their pro anglers, and again, that is a lot like an e-bike. You're not going to get some super speeds out of it. You'll probably average about 3 miles per hour, but it'll get you out of a pinch if you need it, and it actually run a lot more shallow than the other motors. So it's kind of preference. But right now, man, I've been really impressed with the Newport stuff. Um, not not to say take anything away from Torpedo. I think Torpedo's fantastic. It's the most dependable, most longest lasting. They're the first. They're the most innovative. But the NK 180S from a sure performance standpoint, when you pair it with a good battery like a Z Pro battery, and you can get some really serious mileage out of those things. So that's what I would recommend. I would recommend honestly the NK 180.
Awesome. And I will say that on the way in, when we decided I was going to tow him in, we kind of strapped our kayaks together and put the motor on full power. We're going against the wind and the current. I think we're topping out at like 1.3 miles an hour,
Yeah,
but we were going, so that's all that matters.
I did a
um,
I did a guided trip yesterday, and the customers they wanted to demo two Outbacks on their trip, and the wife wanted the Outback with power. So I have a Torpedo 403 on my Outback, and so I let her do it. I let her use that one. And on the way back, we were both on each of her side holding onto her kayak, and she towed us all the way in. And we were doing probably about 3.5. The steering was crazy, but we got
yeah,
back. Yeah.
that's awesome. And actually, you bring up a good point. Um, will the shop be doing demos and other kind of seminars and stuff like that out of the shop? Is
Oh
there any
yeah.
plans to do that?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing demos. That that is we got to find venues in areas that work from a water standpoint. So one of my pro staff guys, Kevin Wills. I think a lot of people know Kevin Wills. He's big on the tournaments. He's a great guy, man. He kind of runs our pro staff, and he'll be on the Hobie fishing team this year. Um, he's been kind of taking an active role to try to find venues where we can actually do that. The first thing we're going to do from an event standpoint is do the Houston Fishing Show, and that'll be in March. We were going to do the boat show, but we decided, let's get through this opening first, and then we'll worry about the boat show since it's like next week. So, we're going to bypass that one, but we'll definitely be there for the fishing show, and then we'll have some seminars, man. Hopefully, we can lean on some of the local experts to come in and doing seminars anywhere from rigging to tournament fishing to getting content for social media, YouTube, all these different things we really want to do here.
Awesome. And that's good to hear because I think after the pandemic, a lot of the demos that traditionally happened, they've kind of just
Mm-hmm.
they're gone.
Yeah.
And one of the answers I always give, like, oh, what kind of kayak should I get? It's like, oh, yeah, I would, based upon the parameters you gave, this is what I recommend, but I definitely recommend you go demo it. But there's nowhere to demo it now, so.
Yeah.
Um, so we've been like, I've been trying to find people. Oh yeah, you have this kayak. Hey, this guy wants to try it out. You want to go? You want to lend it out for a little bit? Um, so I have Fidencio on the chat. He's thinking of going Hobie. How would you convince him to go Hobie if it was you right here?
You know what? I mean, it's one of those things to where, I mean, Hobie's my first love, man. And you guys have heard my story. I really love Hobie. I believe in that product, and I use it commercially for guide trips. And so, but I would say, try and understand what is it, Fidencio.
Yeah.
I would try to understand what he plans to use it for, right? Maybe the Hobie's not the right option. Maybe he's more of a freshwater BOS guy, and maybe the Pro Angler might be, but also maybe the Old Town would be the right fit pedal drive. Yeah, I would really want to get a good feel for what it is that, but if his heart's set on Hobie, I also want to know what kind of guy he is. Is he 6'7", 280 pounds? That requires a certain boat, right?
Yep.
If he's 5'8", a buck 05, man, all of them apply, right? So, it's one of those things to where, that's the $1 million question.
Yeah, it actually reminds me of a story when I was working at FTU, and we
Mhm.
we we rented out kayaks. I had somebody who over the phone. He's like, "Do you guys have the Sport in stock?" The Hobie Sport, which I don't think they make anymore.
No, they
And I was
don't.
like, "Yeah, yeah, 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 we have it." Yeah, he's like, "I want to try it because I want to, I want to. We go camping and stuff like that. I want something small to take with me." And he comes in, he's like 6'5". Um, and like I really don't think you're gonna like the Sport. At the very least, get like a Revo 11 or something. Even then, I don't know. That may be too small for you too. Um, he's like, "Oh, I think it'll be fine. It'll be fine. They have, I read they have adjustable pedals. You can adjust it and whatever." I tried to convince him, and yeah, he came back like 2 hours later. Like, yeah, yeah, it was a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
uh, I ended up getting him into Revo 13, so and he liked that.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, anybody can get in any boat, in my opinion. There are some weight limitations on some of the seats. But man, I've gone out with dudes, that are 300 pounds, man, and they're sporting a Revo 13, Revo 16, even, and that's but their their bodies are equipped to, they're used to it. That's their baby, So, I think that any boat can really fit anybody. It's just about what it is they plan to do with that boat that's important. Now, I wouldn't tell them to go BTB at 300 pounds, 6'5", on a Hobie Passport 10.5. It's just not going to work, man. I don't care who you are; it's just physically not going to work. But it's all contingent on what you plan to do with the tool, right?
yep, yep, exactly. You build you choose the kayak around the person.
That's right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yep. So, um, I actually have a question here from Carlos. Where will the Hobie tournament be this year? And actually, this is a good opportunity for you to talk about the Hobie tournament because I think it's one of the bigger tournaments on Texas for kayaking.
Man, we obviously that tournament was born in Corpus. You know, at, to be honest, I'll tell you about the Hobie Owners Tournament. So I kind of started it off, and it wasn't a joke. Don't think of the tournament as a joke, but in Corpus they have like the Mayak Owners Tournament, the Shoalwater Boat Tournament, all these different boat manufacturers would host these grandiose tournaments, right? And I said, you know what? We're gonna do a kayak Hobie tournament, and everybody laughed at it at first. Like, dude, come on, how many people are gonna come to a Hobie tournament? And we started it, and we had like 24 people in the front. That was more than I thought. The first going like 6 years ago, and then it grew to 40, and then it grew to like 70, and then man, it went up to 148, and then last year we had 99, and so man, it has grown, and that's a good question. We thought about that. We thought about doing either a series. I don't like series, but I think to service everybody, it might be the right thing to do. I've also thought about doing it competitive from geographic range. I don't know who recommended that. Somebody said, "Man, why don't you do like Houston versus San Antonio versus Corpus? And choose a neutral site. Like maybe we do Palacios or something somewhere like you got some good anglers there. Don't get me wrong, but not everybody goes there, right?
Yep.
So maybe we do that and we get the teams from the different, so we will probably have this one here in Corpus in May, which is like a 99% certainty. But go forward, that doesn't mean we don't have another one where we have one in Houston, in the Houston area, or maybe we have a freshwater one. I don't know. My ultimate goal, man, for the Hobie Owners Tournament is to make it a world's qualifier.
Ooh.
That's they have these, like, the Hobie Worlds,
Mm-hmm.
and so they have these worlds qualifiers. They're either a BOS tournament or Bass. They have one in some kind of like remote area of Louisiana that nobody ever knows about, but they do one there. And so my whole goal was to boost the attendance so that we can make this a world's qualifier, for folks as well. So that's still the goal. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but that's the goal. But I definitely want to do something for all three of these major markets for us, man, for sure.
That's awesome. I think that sounds. I mean, with your track record right now, opening 3 stores,
Mm-hmm.
and with your uh, your can-do attitude, work ethic, I think it'll happen. So
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll definitely do it, man. And like I said, putting on tournaments, man, that's work. That's some
yeah, that's a whole
serious,
other challenge. Yeah.
a whole other ball of wax, man. And so, man, I love the tournaments. I think they're good for our sport. They're good for our business. Um, they just get people together, But man, I don't like doing tournaments, man, because there's a lot of moving parts to that, and there's a lot that can go wrong. Specifically, weather. We all
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people, they think that putting tournaments are easy. It's not.
No,
It's
not.
there's a lot of, again, like opening a store. There's so many moving parts with this,
Yep.
that you have to pay attention to and worry about. Yeah. So we've talked a lot. How about you remind everybody again, for those who are listening to the end of this podcast, what um, kind of the location and projected
Hmm.
opening date one last time.
Okay, so what's
602.
so the address is 602 Rayford Road in Spring, Texas. We're located right off 45 on Rayford, about a mile west. And there's a big lake right here, right down the road. I think, what lake is that? It's a big ass lake, but we're pretty close to that lake. Um, so yeah, that's it. Spring, Texas, 602 Rayford Road. We plan to open. Our soft opening date is planned right now for February 11th. That is a moving target, but I think it's something we can definitely achieve. We're just waiting on some key components to be completed from a build out standpoint. So yeah, that's pretty much it. What else?
Oh no, that was it. I wanted to thank you again, Mike, for showing up and talking to us about Fin Factory Kayak and Tackle showing up here in Houston. We look forward to, and I'm speaking for myself, but I'm sure everybody, we're all looking forward to your opening and seeing what you can bring to our kayaking and fishing community here. And wanted to thank you again for coming on and talking to us about it.
Jonathan, it's my pleasure, man, and thank you for bringing us on. It means a lot to us, to be a part, to giving us a platform to speak about what we plan to do. The marketing approach has been a little slow for us just because of all the things we talked about before, finding the venue and stuff. But you guys are the first to bend the olive branch for us to say, hey, we want to know, and we're an open book, man. I'm a 100% open book. We run our shop with passion, and we're all about we're kayakers, man. That's what we do. And yeah, and again, I can't thank you enough for allowing me to come on and talk about it. I really appreciate you, man, a lot.
No, and thank you. No, thank you. It means a lot for us to have you on. So I think that's going to end it for today. Thanks for your guys' questions for those who are watching live. And if you want to watch us live, you can go to facebook.com/one last cast podcast. We are live every other Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Come and join us, ask questions. Like, you can interact with us and the guests, and join in and have some fun. And before we hop off again, let's give a shout out to our sponsors, DSKA. Go search them on Facebook, the Austin Kayak Fishing Group. Head on over there to gain some knowledge. and great people as well. 4A Printing, they do our custom merch. Aaron, I don't know if you heard this, but I need to contact you. And I saw you were on the chat earlier. I need to get with you and get some towels because I am now out. And also Knocking Tail Lures, our go-to soft plastics from Merriel and I. And we are really excited to see what they bring out, what we can catch with them this year. Been catching bull reds on them. If you go to our Facebook page, you'll find some of the latest catches that I had. So thanks again, y'all. And tight lines. You guys have a good night.
Good night, guys.